over the purpose of the fundraiser to support students for the summer semester. And in doing that, we want to put together this Zoom presentation. We are going to record it and make it available on YouTube so folks can watch it on their own time. We're hoping that it'll reach out to more people so they can donate for this important cause. I do want to say thank you to several people who already have donated, and Veronica Rodriguez being one of them. I want to say thank you to Dr. Jorge Nieto, who teaches our law in higher education class. I want to say thank you to Hector Hernandez, who just earned his master's degree this year. He had to come back, right? So I'm actually proud of him that they came back to finish up what he started. I also want to say thank you to Dr. Mason Salazar, who's going to join us later today with Dr. Isabel Castro. I want to say thank you to Elizabeth Villarreal, who is also an enlacista, and I always forget which year or which cohort she's a part of, so excuse me for that. I believe she's either 3 or 4, but she'll tell me when I see her, right? And other person I want to say thank you to is Veronica Galindo, who works for CPS, who is a great educator, doing great things in the city. And I just want to say thank you, right, for contributing to this fundraiser. Today, what I'm going to do, I plan to talk about the ENLACE Leadership Institute, and then at 6:30, in about 25 more minutes, we hope to get our panel started with Dr. Isabel Castro and Dr. Mason Salazar. They're both from cohort 7. They graduated back, I think, in 2014, maybe 15 or 16, around there. It's been a while, but they continued their studies, and I'm honored to say, right, they just finished their doctoral studies, and they're doctors now, so they're fresh off the press. We are all proud of them, and I can't wait to hear their stories, right, in terms of their experiences. Uh, but in terms of ENLACE, we are called the ENLACE Leadership Institute, which is a master's program in higher education. We prepare leaders in higher education. And the purpose of the ENLACE Leadership Institute, it started with the Kellogg Foundation back in the year 2000, where they gave $1.5 million to help program in developing leaders from the Latinx community, right? And the reason was because there was a big void in terms of representation from our community. So with that upstart, we were able to recruit folks who are from the community, who understand the community, and who are intentional in developing relationships between the universities and colleges and with community members who are eligible, right, well, actually, they're all eligible. So whoever wants to come and study, right, and earn your degrees, where you're more than welcome. But the key thing here is we got folks from the community who are able to connect, right, bring folks in and support them so they can be retained, and hopefully at the end of their experience, they graduate and leave Northeastern or other universities and colleges with a degree in their hands. So that's the purpose of our program, right? In terms of the approach that we use, and I mentioned this in my other video, we do talk about student-centered services, a philosophy where we ask students what is it that they need. Excuse my food in my mouth, right? But we consider culture, we consider bilingualism, we consider biculturalism, folks who come from families that are either transnational, or have different status in terms of documentation, and who have who come from low income backgrounds, and also who are first generation in their families to go to higher education. And that's a big step. I know for me, I was one of the first to earn a degree in my family, to go to UVI, Urbana-Champaign, which was a big deal. I did a lot of learning, and I did get a lot of support from fellow students, upperclassmen and women. And that to me was sufficient for me to figure it out, right? To figure out and navigate higher education, and more importantly, be successful to the point where I earned my master's and my PhD, and now I'm here as a professor, right? As a full professor, so I'm honored. And that being said, let me get into some pictures. I do want to celebrate. It lasted for 25 years. We put together this document, and I'll show you right now once I open up the screen, that I put together. Let me do this real quick. That I put together, and I can't see it right now. Let me find it. Oops. Here we go. And it's 25 years of ENLACE Leadership Institute. And I want to go through the pictures, right? To see just all the leaders that we have developed. This is my 7th year. I'm going into my 8th year as director of the program. And I was not here for, to help graduate all the other cohorts, but I started with cohort 6, and we are now at cohort 15 graduating. Cohort 16, which Veronica Rodriguez is a part of, they just completed their first year. And actually next week they'll complete their first year. And then right now we are recruiting, and we have about 11 new students for cohort 17, and we still need to set that up. So we're excited. We continue to have interest in the program. And in the last 10 years, we have graduated over 130 students, right, with master's degrees in higher education. So here, when I put this document together, it was important for me to show the faces, right, of our students, alumni now. And the majority of them are working in institutions across the city of Chicago, the Chicagoland area, up north in the suburbs. We got folks in Indiana, Northwest Indiana, down south. So we do have an impact, right? And I'm honored to be the director for this program because of that impact. And we continue to build on that family feeling of supporting each other, providing tips, right? Mentoring, or helping establish mentoring practices and relationships. So we come and, we see the leadership qualities in our applicants. We accept them, we support them, and then we hope to, further develop their leadership skills so they can really effectively engage with community members who need support and figure out on their own, right, how to be successful in higher ed. So we're honored. So here's a cohort 9. And my memory with them is we went to Puerto Rico for the summer for the 496D class, which was super fun, which was our last trip outside well, technically Puerto Rico was part of the United States as a colony, was, if you don't know that, but it's, outside the regular United States, into the Caribbean, right, in Puerto Rico, and we're out there for 10 days, so it's a magnificent, right, experience. Cohort 13, right, you see here at the graduation, you got Danny taking the picture, Danny Cortez. This is cohort 14 at the event that we held, that we hosted, that the students had to put together as part of their human relations class, which is taught by me. And this was, I think, a year and a half ago. Let me scroll down. Here are our mission and goals. I'm not going to read the mission and goals I stated at yesterday, but we'll read the first paragraph, right? So, or the first sentence. The mission of the ENLACE Higher Education Master's Program is to prepare leaders in higher ed that will create the change responsive to the educational needs of Latinx students and an increasingly diverse post-secondary student population. Program aims to support promising students to work as culturally competent or responsive and critical staff and administrators at institutions of higher education immediately after they graduate, aiding first-generation college students, economically challenged students, immigrant students, and students from underrepresented groups. So we take pride in that, right? And I'm actually honored when students or alumni get hired and their bosses ask them, they're like, hey, where'd you learn this approach, right? Where'd you learn this student first, student-centered approach that really is effective? And of course, they talk about ENLACE and their experience with the ENLACE family. So I'm honored, right, to be the director of this program. We have here we got cohort 2, the second cohort who graduated. And I just want to identify this person right here. That's Dr. Jorge Nieto. And he is actually teaching for the program now, right? So he came back. I mean, to me, I love seeing those stories because they're coming back to give back to what supported them. Here we got another person coming in. And so he is actually part of cohort 2, and now he's the professor for the law and higher education class, right? Which is a tough class, which everybody says it's the toughest class in the in the program. And I give him props because when he asked if there was a class that he can teach, he did say, anything but law, right? And I was like, that's the only one that's available. So to his credit, right, he took the challenge, and I think he's doing a phenomenal job. So thank you, Dr. Nieto. Here we got cohort 3. Many of these, I think this was the first all women cohort. It was a smaller group of maybe of 8 or maybe 10. I wasn't around that time, but we have Dr. Diane Ehrlich, who was one of our grant supporters. Rest in peace. She was actually my colleague when I first came into the K-12 leadership program. Beautiful person, Jewish background, very, proud, right, of her Jewish background, and she would share some of the insights with us. But she was a huge proponent of our program. So thank you, Diane. We miss you, right? But she's here. I believe this is on their trip. I don't know where they went, but it was somewhere in Latin America. We also have Luvia, right, who used to work at Northeastern. Now she's at Harold Washington, and many other people. We got Kendi up in there, right? It's the Evelyn. Cohort 7 is the next group. Let me go in a little bit so you can see faces. So they're the only group that took a picture with their fists, right? Demanding change for our community. And we have Monica Meneses here, who is doing great things at Harper College. This is Isabel Castro, who is now Dr. Castro, who will be joining us in a few. And we have other people, right? I'm gonna name them all just because of time. I'm gonna scroll down, and here is our campus where when we meet in person. We actually meet at El Centro. This year, we're gonna start at the University Center for Lake County. We wanted to switch it up just in terms of making ourselves like, more accessible to Latino and leaders from the Latino community to come and join us as students, right? Let me go, I'll scroll down a bit more. And here we got cohort 1, the first, right? The OGs, as we say. And I was talking about Dr. Mayra Agatan Morales yesterday, and here she is in this picture. I believe we have this is Carlos, or Carlos Martin, who works at Truman, who always comes through to support our events, and I really appreciate that about him. And we have other individuals. I can't see their faces too clear, but that's the first group to graduate. They came in the year 2000. Here's cohort 12. This was during the time of COVID. And I do believe that our graduation took place when we were able to meet in spaces, but it was required that we all had masks. So I think it's significant that we have masks in this picture because it was during those times, right? We have Quintiliano Rios here, who is working for NEIU, who works for the undocumented student resource office here. Here's Araceli. We got who else is here? I can't tell because of face. It was Ruby, and then I can't tell. Okay, let me jump over to cohort 6. Cohort 6 is the cohort when I first came in terms of teaching before I was the director. They were the first cohort that actually taught in the ENLACE Leadership Institute. And we have the big dogs, right? You got Luis Duarte. You have my predecessor, which is Dr. Frank Gaitan, who was the director before me. You have Paulina, you got Mark, right? You got Celia. Let me scroll down to cohort 11. And I think cohort 11 was at the beginning of the pandemic. Well, we also had to wear masks. And unfortunately, we don't have a full picture of all of them because not everybody showed up to the commencement because of the fear, right, of COVID. But these brave souls were able to show up. I do see Melissa McGlynn, who is doing great things at Harold Washington College. Every time I see her, I always, tell her how much I appreciate her efforts of always taking pictures with her students, with her colleagues, etc. It's just so much fun, right? And that's what leaders do. We pump each other up, right? And I can't really tell who the other people. I think this is Nancy Castanes, right? And other folks, of course. Let me scroll down a bit more. And here we have code 4, who I really don't know much, but I think let me see. Here's Diane, rest in peace. Dr. Richard Rutschman. He was actually the director maybe for a year or two between Dr. Santos Rivera and Dr. Frank Gaitan. So he stepped up for a bit, and then this pictures of them when they were on their trip, right? And oh, Roxanne's here too. Okay, cool. I forgot you jumped in. And then we have cohort 5. They actually went to Cuba. And let me see, here is Dr. Angel Velez before he became a doctor. And I must say, even though he was not my student in my class, but I've known him since he was an undergraduate student at Northeastern. We developed a nice relationship. So to see him graduate from Enlace and then go to U of I Urbana-Champaign, have the same advisor that I had, that Dr. Rivera had, and Dr. Polito, Sarah Polito had from U of I, Dr. James D. Anderson, and receive his doctoral degree. That was such a big blessing for me. I'm not gonna lie, I teared up, when he defended, and I always told him, I hope this is the first of many more. And that's why I'm excited to have Isabel and Mason come and talk about their experiences, right? We also have Tanya Cabrera, who everybody knows from UIC, doing great work and advocating for undocumented students. And then down here, we got cohort 10. We got the X representing 10, the Roman numeral, right? And here's our former instructor for research class. That's Dr. Asif Wilson. And then here, right, we got different individuals. We got Elsa, you got Luis Mendez, who's always doing great things at Wright College. And we have Emmanuel Garcia, who's a superstar at Governor State University. He actually helped coordinate and host the Lache conference this past April. So he's out there, right, in terms of doing great things, and he knows how to push things, right, and doing well. We have Fayek Ahmed here, who is also, I don't know if he got his doctoral degree yet, but I know he's in a PhD program or a doctoral program at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. We have cohort 8 here, right? And I call them cohort great just because they were able to raise $10,000 for their class project for my human relations class back in I think 2018 or maybe 17. I always forget which year, but it's been a while. And that's Dr. Frank Gaitan, who was the director at the time. We got Big Eric up there in the back. And of course, Mr. Franklin, who also is, I think he's about to get his doctoral degree either in the fall or next year, I think, but I know he's in the program at Colorado State University. So doing great things. Who else is in here that I can see? We got Albert. He also, I believe he's of I know he's Asian. I believe he's Filipino. I could be wrong, but he is now the director of the Intercultural Studies program. Or I'm sorry, of Intercultural Center, not Studies program, at Northeastern University in the East Coast. Not to be confused with Northeastern Illinois. It's called Northeastern University, and I think it's funny that he's worked for both institutions. He was a student worker when he worked with us, or when he was a student with us. Let me go down further. I think those were all the cohorts. I wanted to highlight them, right? To so you can see, how many students we have, how many alumni have graduated from the program, and these are all leaders, right? I would say the majority of them are working for higher ed institutions and doing great things. Just to show you in terms of a familia, the family setting that we try to provide to support all of our students. Here are some other pictures of the events that we've hosted. Here we have an open mic poetry set that was hosted by cohort 12. I remember Quintiliano being a big part of that. He's actually, I always tell people he's a hip hop MC. Don't let him fool you. He's a singer and a hip hop MC for a band called Quinto Imperio. They're from back of the years. That's one of his, I think, vocalist and guitar player. But they came through and performed. I thought that was really nice of him to bring that to our space, right? And the majority of you folks here are cohort 12. Here, I think this is Dr. Mercado's class, Claudia Mercado. We had, yeah, there she goes. And I forget what this was, but I stepped in, to say hello. That's me right there. And I took a picture because I wanted to, like, because we also see ourselves in this setting as well, right? The majority of the time we actually meet on Zoom, so that's the way we're engaging. but we do meet in person. And then a few more pictures, right? Here's I think this is at the HACU conference, which is the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities. They've been around for a very long time. Advocating for Latinos and Hispanics, right, in higher ed. And you see here's a mixture of different cohort members. We have Dr. Trisha Rosado, right? She also just recently earned her doctoral degree. We got Geisha, who actually we went to go visit her job interview that she had for the dean of the Humboldt Park campus for Wright College, for the City Colleges of Chicago. I'm hoping you got it. You deserve it, right? So I do hope you got it. We got Veronica Villanueva from cohort 13. She is a little firecracker, right? She may be, petite, but she has a heart of a lion, and she is a leader because she holds it down, and she's doing great things. We have Emily as well, who is at Northeastern with CCAS. And Emily is one that will always pull through, right, in terms of what needs to get done. And here's Emmanuel Garcia, who I mentioned earlier. And some of us, we have myself, Dr. Mercado, Franklin from another cohort. We got Dr. Daniel Lopez, who teaches for the program and who is also the president of Harold Washington College. We have Alexandro Venegas, Christina, Dr. Trisha Rosado, and one of her colleagues from where she used to be at ISU. We all came to support Emmanuel because he was actually he opened up a Latinx student center at Governor State University, and they had a big reception. So of course we had to come and support him, even though he's on the other side, down south of the city of Chicago, right? And then at the end of our program, or actually our document, we have some pictures from, just different groups. We got Danny Cortez from cohort 13. We hosted an event a few years back. We had an indigenous ritual performed in front of us, which was beautiful. Here we have Maria from cohort 7. You got Dr. Castro up here, Franklin, Salvador, Monica, and Paola, who works for NEIU. And of course, Luisa Narvaez, who's doing great things at the City Colleges of Chicago. Here, we're celebrating the last day of class for cohort 13. You have Fawn Pochel, who is 100% Native American, always doing great things for the Native American community, indigenous community in the city of Chicago. So we were honored to have her and hear her insights on stuff. Here you got Dr. Angel Velez, who was actually they had his image displayed in promoting NEIU, right, as a university, because he's a product of NEIU and now he's a doctor, right? So we're honored to praise him that way. Here's an event that Jennifer Estrada and Jorge, I can't think of his Perez. They actually emceed an event that they did for my human relations class a few years ago. And then I do want to pay tribute to Collins Tinsley, who was a member of our cohort 9, who passed away a few years back. So Collins, we still got you, bro. We're never gonna forget you, and always gonna make sure that we remember you. So rest in peace, brother. And then down here we have a nice picture of a bunch of enlacistas from different cohorts who joined for the ELACHA conference back in last year, 2024, at Northern Illinois University. I messed up my ankles. I have that boot on my leg. That's why I had to sit down and take this picture. But you see, look at all these leaders. These are all leaders who are affiliated with one institution, right? Either college or university in the area. So again, our program is impactful, right? We do produce leaders. I'm honored, right, to be the director. And then 2 more picks here, right? So here we go to our this is cohort. Is this I think this is 12 or 11. I see the set
Not
there. Go ahead.
cohort 7. Cohort 7, Dr. Cortez.
Is that cohort 7?
Cohort 7. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yep,
sorry,
yep.
Dr.
No, it's
Salazar.
okay. No,
Wait,
no,
wait, are
no,
you
it's all good.
sure? No,
I
because this
promise.
is
I'm in the back. Me and Isa are in the back.
I
But
know,
maybe
but
other people showed up too.
I was gonna say you guys showed up as guests, because we have
Oh, we showed up as guests. No, you're absolutely right. Okay, okay. I just saw me. I saw some familiar faces. I was like, this got to be cohort 7, but no, there's other people there. I'm sorry about that, Dr. Cortez.
no, it's all good. But I'm glad you asked that because it shows that other people come through, right? Like alumni
Yes,
come through to support whenever we're celebrating like the end of the semester with the cohorts. And I think this is because we have Lisette here, we got Serena Robertson who's in Europe
we
now
were
doing.
definitely guests.
Yes,
Yeah,
right. And so we were celebrating at the Output Lounge, which is my spot in my neighborhood, best wings and hot wings in the city of Chicago, right? And then over here to the right, I wanted to include a picture we have moments where we get together, do team building events. We did a circle check-in here at El Centro on the third floor. So we do it all, right? We celebrate, we learn, we produce leaders, and we also engage with community so we can build that sense of community. So I'll stop there. I know some people came through. Hello, Dr. Mason Salazar. I love saying that. Congratulations. I haven't seen you. Well, I
appreciate that.
spoke to you recently, the day we were
Mhm.
celebrating. I forget what we were doing.
Yes,
I spoke to you on the phone. So congrats again. Thank you for coming through and showing your support. I don't know who
of course.
Olga is. That Olga Guadarrama?
Yes, Dr. Cortez. I'm trying to figure out my camera situation here.
Okay, no
Oh,
worries.
there we are. There we are.
All right. No, thank you for showing up. I hope some other members of your cohort will show up. But I saw the Olga G. I was like, is that Guadarrama? Okay.
That's me.
Yeah, I may not know the faces, but I know the names because I go through the paperwork. Right? And
Thank you.
Olga is a member of cohort 16, so I haven't had her in class yet, so that's why I remember the
Mhm.
name. And then we have Roxanne Garcia. I don't know if you want to say hello real quick, Roxanne.
Hi, everyone.
All right, thank you. And Veronica Rodriguez, who is also a member of cohort 16. I don't know if you want to say hi, Veronica.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for this. And hi, everyone.
All right, thank you. So, Dr. Salazar, I don't know if you've talked to Dr. Castro, but I don't know if she's gonna join it. I hope she is.
No, I imagine she is probably just maybe a few minutes late, but
Okay,
she'll be joining. I'm sure. I haven't heard otherwise, so yeah, I
right
trust
now.
that she'll be here for sure.
Okay, so let me just share a few
Mhm.
more pictures, and once she gets in, we'll
Yeah,
get started. Oh,
sure.
there she goes. She's right there. Once she
Love
gets,
it.
boom, her name popped up.
You summoned her. You summoned her.
Yeah, I summoned her. I
I
was
love
like,
that.
La
Yeah.
Doctora Castro. So, Dr. Castro,
Hello,
welcome.
everyone.
Thank you for joining us. We're honored to have you. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Now I'm even better because I'm with you all.
All right, that's what I love to hear. So
Let's
you knew
go.
if we're gonna do this. Thank you for joining us. As you know, this is a fundraiser. And just to let folks know, because we have a small group of audience members, but we are recording this and we're gonna play it again on YouTube to get more viewers to hopefully get more donators, right? So
Hmm.
so just keep that in mind. You arrived at the perfect time. 6:30 is when we had you begin your panel, and you got the questions right ahead of time. So let me just introduce both of you. So both Isabel and Mason are members of the cohort 7 from the ENLACE Leadership Institute, and phenomenal. I mean, I am honored that you have no idea how happy, excited I was once they got the doctoral degrees, once they got accepted to their program. I was like, yes, keep moving it forward. Both individuals are very invested in supporting students, community members, etc. So I'm glad. I can't wait to hear when you're gonna get hired, right? With that PhD in your job. But what the reason we're here, right, is to hear your stories, to hear your insights, because we want to encourage folks, to pursue their doctoral degree. It's not for everybody, right? If you don't want that, that's totally fine. A PhD doesn't mean that it doesn't define us, right? But I know some of us do want to go that route, and both of you decide that route. So we're hoping that other individuals who have similar goals can learn from you in terms of like what does it take and what type of experiences are we looking to once we get into these type of programs, right? So let me first, if you can introduce yourselves, if there's any opening statements you want to say, that's fine, and then I'll bust out the first question. Go ahead.
Dr. Castro, you first.
All right, Dr. Salazar. Okay, hi everyone. Good evening. My name is Isabel Castro, Doctora Isabel Castro. I'm still getting used to that, so don't mind me if I trip up. But I'm really thankful for this opportunity. Anytime I have, any time of my personal time to give back to Enlace, I'm always willing to and signing up to do all these events because I know that at one point I was in your shoes and I was on the other side. And so any insight that I can give today on my journey and just what it looked like for me in hopes that it will help others, I'm really excited to do that and to be here to be able to have that opportunity.
Thank you. Dr. Salazar?
Nah, well said, well said. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mason Salazar. I was a part of cohort 7. I, just like Isa said, or Dr. Castro said, I'm so excited to be here and be able to share my story and just try to give any bits of nuggets that I can to folks who are considering a PhD program and or just wanting to discuss higher education in general. I am a first generation student and was born and raised in Chicago, but I currently live in New York. So have a different perspective in terms of working at an institution outside of the state and completing a degree virtually towards the end. So so nice to meet you all. I look forward to engaging with you all and answering your questions. And also thank you, Dr. Cortez. Thank you, Dr. Cortez, for reaching out, for allowing us this opportunity, for still holding down the program. I can't say it enough. I mean, it's incredible that you're still still just devoting so much to the program. It means a lot to me personally as an alumni, and I'm sure to everyone involved.
Cool. Thank you, Dr. Salazar. So the first question, and first I want to say thank you to Roxanne. She put the questions together. She was able to assist me, reaching out to folks. Today she's taking a break. I was like, she did a great job yesterday. So I'm gonna ask the questions, and the first one is a light one. Can you share some of your favorite classes that you took, during the doctoral program in the studies, right? Feel free to elaborate whichever way that you want.
Yeah, I can definitely go first. I would say that my program, the reason why I wanted to do the program at National Louis University, and it was the Higher Education Leadership Program, was because of how student-centered it was. And it was one of the very few programs that didn't require a GRE. And so both me and Mason, we took actually at Northeastern a prep class for the GRE, found out that we're not great at math, but or just like high school level math. We just hadn't seen that in a long time. So we spent a good buck to go take that prep class, but I didn't end up taking the GRE. So I needed to find a program that didn't require it. And so this program was it allowed me to have admission without having that requirement. Now, I did need letters of recommendation, which thankfully Dr. Cortez provided one for me and he helped with that process. But I also had an interview. And then during that time, they were also launching their fellowship. And so I was able to be funded through that fellowship as well when I first started in the program. And unfortunately, now, due to all the cuts that have been happening in higher ed, that fellowship is no longer available for students. And so it's really unfortunate, but that's where my beginning was. And so my favorite class, I would say, throughout the program, I just felt like it was an extension of ENLACE because we had so many higher ed courses in ENLACE that were connected to what I was already learning or what I was going to learn in the program that I was in. And so especially even like the law class, I feel like, yeah, I took there was like another level. It was like on steroids at the doctoral level, but at least I appreciated that there was some background knowledge of it in Enlace that when I got into the doctoral level of it, I wasn't as intimidated. Because I think even for Enlace, when we first started touching on those concepts, I hadn't really read any law books. I had never been exposed to cases. And so thankfully I had that knowledge already and I walked into that class feeling that much more confident. Again, with my program, I would say my favorite class was the ability to switch out my electives for an internship. So my director at the time, she was very just willing to work with us to make this the program that we wanted for ourselves. She wanted us to get the most out of it. And so instead of picking an elective that was put by the institution, she always gave us the option to make our own elective and then it would turn into an internship. And so with that, I ran with that because I was able to do two. So I did one with the Illinois Coalition for Higher Education in Prison. And so because of my topic, it just aligned very well with their organization and the work that they were doing. And because of that connection that I was able to do during that internship, it has allowed me into spaces. It has allowed me at a seat and a table that before that probably I wouldn't have been able to be invited to. And so that was really good. The other one was like how incarcerated individuals are portrayed in the media. And that was also kind of just like at my own pace. And I did my own research and then I presented it to my director at the time. And that's how I was able to get credit for it. And I would just log my hours. So I would say I really appreciated my program for that because it allowed me the opportunity to make it my own instead of like having to follow this very rigid schedule. Just the opportunity to explore other avenues that helped me in the end make my dissertation that much more robust.
Awesome. Thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Salazar.
Dr. Castro, that was incredible. I didn't even know half of that, which I think is amazing, for me to also kind of learn about how your program was in a different way. That's awesome, man. I think, when I think about my experience in a PhD program, because you were in the EDD program, and I think that your internship experience is incredible because it's something that I didn't really have the opportunity to do, actually. My curriculum was a bit more rigid, if you will. But when I think about the classes that I enjoyed, I would say I'm looking at my transcript right now just to kind of refresh my memory. But as much as I hated, statistics, it was something that really, like research statistics is something that really kind of humbled me, but also I was able to grow from in terms of just thinking about research and how to conduct it. And with the support of my wife, who's also in the sciences, she was able to kind of help me understand that, how to think about research in a different way, whether it be quantitative and qualitative, because stats can exist for both. So I think although I didn't necessarily enjoy it at the time, it did help me when thinking about my dissertation and really being firm on what the type of study that I actually wanted to do and being confident in choosing a qualitative study at that time. Another one for me, I got to do a sub out or not subclasses, but have electives. So I took a sociology class, like a history of sociological thought, which basically introduced me to like 4 or 5 founding fathers of sociology. And I had really not been in a course. It was a master's level course for students in the social work program, actually, but I was able to sit in it and be a part of it. And it was so fun. It was so interesting. I had learned a lot of things, a lot of theory, a lot of just different ways to think about society and the way that we connect or don't connect from a sociology standpoint. So that was a very eye-opening experience for me, and it was in person as well. So I also enjoyed that. And I also took a issues in school law and an intro to ed policy analysis class. And for me, that was, it was, it was more K through 12 focused, to be honest with you, but it was very interesting to learn about cases, like actual cases that have gone to the Supreme Court or just local courts, that, and to learn about the rulings and why the law may have been misinterpreted one way or another. So for example, like if you're, this course was with a lot of K through 12 administrators who were wanting to become superintendents. And I forget the exact website that we looked up these laws. I'll look it up, but it was just interesting to, just hear different people's viewpoints in that class, whether a student, should be penalized or not penalized, or how should they be penalized, or how should the district move forward with letting, police search the locker versus, just things like that, where, there have been cases that have been settled and things that have been decided upon across across the country in different states. So it was good overall. I did have to be a little more flexible in terms of my course options, because not everything is higher ed focused all the time, and you'll find that a lot of your courses transfer into your PhD programs, which is great because it saves you money. So that was kind of the case for me. So hopefully that was helpful.
All right, thank you for that. And I want to make a quick comment because I know you had Dion for your law well, I forgot his last name. I can't
Brown?
Dion. Yes, thank
Dion
you.
Brown? Yeah.
Professor Brown, yes, who taught that class for a very long time. And so now he left, and Dr. Jorge Nieto teaches that class, and everyone says that's the toughest class in the program. So, yeah, that being said, the next question is how did the ENLACE program, your experience with us in cohort 7, how did the ENLACE program help you prepare for your doctoral studies?
I think I mentioned just a little bit with, with the law class, but even just like different topics before that, it's just if you're going to get your doctorate in higher education or in higher education leadership, and LASE gives you the foundational like information to make you that much more of an expert once you get to the doctoral level. And so thankfully I wasn't learning things that were new. If anything, I was diving deeper into those topics. So for that, I'm very grateful because again, I wasn't going into the program without any knowledge of higher ed. I felt very confident when I would speak in class or when I would do the assignments because I felt like I knew the information already. If anything, it was just adding to it. And so for that, I'm very grateful for ENLACE because it gave me a very strong foundation.
Yeah, and I think to just build off that, it's a very holistic curriculum. I mean, you get a taste of everything, right? So we had the law class, we had the human relations class with Dr. Cortez, we had a class focused specifically on community colleges and the way that those systems work. We had a class about the adult learner, of course, research design and analysis, and also even the class with the foundations of higher education with Dr. Lopez. I mean, it really just definitely prepares you to Dr. Castro's point to go into a program where you have some knowledge, you have some time learning about different topics, you have expertise, you have folks who are doing the work and have shared their experiences with you, and whether you're in class, in person or virtually. So, and that makes me think about the fact that you really have a community. I mean, as we all know, like being able to, as Dr. Cortez was showing the pictures earlier, it's just like it speaks for itself in terms of having people who look like you, who may have similar lived experiences as you, who may understand similar struggles as you, going through the same experience as you, but maybe having different thoughts about it, but being able to have a conversation where it's respectful and it's open. So that's something that I really appreciated about the program, and I feel like prepared me in going into my next phase in the PhD, because I knew I had a community. I knew I had whether that was my peers, whether that was faculty, whether that was the institution itself. but also that working knowledge, that building knowledge that you get from the curriculum after you graduate.
All right. Thank you both. All right, so this is the golden question, right? And I love that Roxanne wrote it. The balancing of school, family, right, work, everything, because we know it's not easy. And let me just proceed, say this before you answer. For me, I know for a fact I would not have finished my PhD if I studied in Chicago. I don't know how y'all did it, right? I know you're in New York, Mason, Dr. Salazar, but you have a family and all of that. So how did you overcome that? How did you strategize? How did you learn from that, right?
You want me to go first? Oh, okay.
She's like, yeah.
You know, it's that's such a good question. It should be an easy one too. But I think it's something that you kind of figure out as you go. You think about kind of what works for you, and some things work and some things don't. Not everything works for everyone. So it's definitely a self-discovery process in terms of how to manage your time and how to effectively use your energy for things that you care about. So it's a habit, it's a practice. For me specifically, I knew I worked best in the mornings. I had the blessing of being early morning person. So I would wake up on the weekends, which sounds crazy, right? But that's just the way my body worked, where I could only do work in the mornings. Don't talk to me after 3 p.m. Don't talk to me at 10 p.m. I can't even think at that time. Like, I got to do work in the morning. So for me, I kind of figured that out and maximized on my time in the mornings. But again, like, I'm a morning person, right? Like my wife isn't, my daughter isn't. So it's just figuring out, I think, when's the best time that you feel the most productive, and at least starting there, to start to figure out how you want to do your schedule outside of work. I'll stop there. I think it's just important to figure out when's the best time that you work the most effectively. And then also, I guess another thing is taking the time off, right? Like, you have PTO, you have time to yourself that you can dedicate. And I had to take time to write. I had to take time to read. I had to take time off to take a break. So taking a break, pausing, not feeling guilty for not needing to do something all the time. We all have that feeling, but again, it's still something that I'm learning how to do even after I finish the PhD. Like, because now I'm like, well, what do I do? Oh my God, I don't have anything to do after work. Like, I'm so used to reading, I'm so used to writing, I'm so used to having a meeting. I got to do this, I got to do that, and now I'm like, oh my God, like, now I feel like I'm doing something wrong because I don't have anything to do. But that's not the case. But let me stop there and pass it over to Dr. Castro. But hopefully that was helpful.
That's so funny because we're literally on the same boat, Mason. Dr. Salazar, like, I really feel like, what am I supposed to do with my time now? Like, it's so weird to not have to write after work. It's so weird to not have this like looming thing hanging over you every single day. So I'm still getting adjusted to life outside of my doctoral program because it does take a toll. And I think that this is something that we don't talk enough about, which is how much it can put a strain on your mental health. And so I think that for many doctoral students who start their program, if they're not in therapy, they should get a therapist as soon as they start a program. I highly recommend it because it's just nice to have somebody there that's with you in your journey. I had started with my therapist when I started my program, but it was also during like COVID times. So it was really helpful to have her there. But then I felt like I was okay and didn't and stopped going to her. But then progressively my mental health worsened, and now I'm back in therapy now that it's my last. It was my like the it was nice because I had her at the beginning and then I had her at the end, right? The middle part where I was figuring everything out, I was kind of trying to deal with it on my own, but thankfully I was able to finish with her and she's been very helpful through my journey. And but yeah, there's gonna be a lot of traumas, that unhealed traumas that maybe you didn't know were there, that are gonna come up, right? I felt like I had always had anxiety, but I never wanted to name it, nor I never wanted to acknowledge it, until finally I took an active role and I was like, no, this is what it is. And so thankfully now I'm also on medication to handle my anxiety, because I just don't want to, it's all about breaking those generational curses and those cycles, because hey, I want to take an active role. I personally feel that there are many people in my family who have anxiety, but we just don't name it, right? We just think that, oh, así es como es, and that's it. So I think that this program really challenged me in that way, and it put a mirror up to me to make me face some of the things that maybe were buried deep inside of me, and it brought them to light. And then, if we're going to be completely honest, it also helped me see that the relationship that I was in was no longer serving me. And so, a lot of people, if you talk to folks, they'll say, like, divorce happens during doctoral programs. People in long-term relationships, they break up. And that's exactly what happened with me. I had a partner who I thought would be supportive, and then it ended up being that we were just going in different ways. And ultimately, I had to let that go. I had to go through that healing process, as I was also trying to finish my homework, and and have a full-time job. And so these are all things that, as you're going through your journey, you're going to face, right? And then even just like family, things come up all the time, with friends, money, all of these different things that you're going to face as you're going through your journey, as you do in your master's program, right? But it's just surrounding yourself with people who are going to be there for you and support you. And your family, they may not fully understand how you're going through everything, and what they can do to support you. So sometimes it's nice for you to let them know how they can support you. So like my parents would always be like, ay, pues, yo no sé cómo ayudarte, they'd be like, I don't know how to read, or I don't know how to write, but I'd be like, that's okay, mom. Like, if you bring over food, that's so much help. Like, that means I don't have to cook. Like, please, like, anytime you want to drop off food, by all means, you're helping me so much with that. And my dad as well, just be, I'd be like, bye, just take me out for breakfast, because I had a really hard week. Like, those are just little things that you can do to help me. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm like reading as they're going. But yeah, so that's ways that because your family and your friends, they want to be there for you, but they just, because they're not in it in the process with you, they just don't know how to. And so my friends as well, they would be like, how do you want me to support you? And I say, you know what? I love me any Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, coffee, gift cards, I will take them. That is your support you can give to me. Like, so yeah, and let folks help you. Mm-hmm. Go ahead,
No,
Mace. Dr.
oh,
Salazar. Oh,
oh my God. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
No, no.
Really tough.
I just wanted to add really quick, like, it's definitely like not a linear thing, in terms of like there's it's just not linear, the doctoral program, it's not, to Dr. Castro's point, things are going to come up, things are going to change, your schedule is going to change, family members are going to change, you're going to change. So it's just like trusting yourself in a way, because ultimately, or you're discovering, while you're going through it, why you're doing what you're doing. And I think having that, ground you when you're going through tough times or feeling overwhelmed with your schedule. And with Dr. Cortez, actually, before every class, and I don't know if he still does this, we used to take 3 deep breaths. And I'm more into breath work now than ever before, and it's grown upon me. But if I had not been introduced to it in that way, or ever like that, I don't, that was, I don't know how things would be, but I just, with Dr. Cortez also introducing that sort of just taking that moment, that pause, to be present, to be where your feet are, can also really, I'm sure anyone in the doctoral program has had those moments where they've needed to do that, and it's healthy to do that. So
That's real cool. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Salazar. I just want to mention Dr. Joanna Maravilla just joined us. She's gonna share after this panel, talking about the K-12 Latinx Studies program that she helped put together. I know a little bit of it, but I'm glad she came through. Thank you for coming. Roxanne had met her at the Critical Race Studies and Education Association conference in Detroit. She was like, we should bring her, we should bring her. I was like, okay, we'll invite her. So she's here. So thank you for showing up, Doctora Maravilla, who's also from the community, who, all of that, right? So she's one of us. Thank you. And then I want to say hi to Luis Islas también, who's my mentee. He's an undergraduate student at Northeastern. He wanted to learn about enlaces, so he's here. But one thing, the next question is this, because I do know support from your professors are extremely important, right? And professors have different styles, right? There's some who are straight up cold cut, like, you know what, you can't do it, then you don't belong here, right? And there's others who are like, look, we'll figure this out. I'll make time for you. I have the door open, when I'm in my office, letting people know they can come in, right? What did you find? Talk about some professors in your school that were able to do different things or things you didn't expect that ended up helping you, right? Anything that hits with that, what if you can share, that'll be great.
But Dr. Cortez, you mean in the LASA program or in our doctoral program? I'm
The
sorry.
doctoral program, excuse me.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that, because it is a difference,
Yeah.
because now you're going to do big time research, right? So it's a different type of
Yes,
preparation.
right.
Yes.
Sure.
So I
Dr.
would
Castro,
say,
you.
oh, sorry. Yeah, I was going to say that just like with Enlace, representation is so important, right? And so in my doctoral program, I had one of my professors who is half Mexican, half Puerto Rican. He's from the community as well. And so just having that familiar face and just being able to be in the class and being able to sometimes speak Spanish and just talk about things like just like in last year where we give each other the real deal, that really helped me kind of look forward to that class. And it also helped me just think about like, I really like this person to be my chair. Because we were able to set up we were able to pick, well, actually, I was assigned a person who was going to be in my chair, but then I asked my director if it was okay if I could pick him. And she was all for it. She said, you know what, if that's who you want to help you in your process, by all means, go ahead. And then after that, it just, again, with the intentionality of like representation is important, I ended up also getting my other committee members to be also of Latino background because I felt that that was what I needed at the time and what I feel I still need, the support of my own people as I'm going through this journey, as they too have faced similar struggles. And so I think that just how the director at the time was so willing for me to make the program my own really helped me to get to the finish line and really helped me enjoy the process, right? And that's funny to say because it's just like, how do you enjoy a doctoral program? But at the end of the day, like, because I was able to, ever since I was young, I've always said, like, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So anytime I'm like, well, let me just ask, what's the worst they could say? Like if they say like, oh, it's always been like this, why? Why can't it be like this? Why can't we do this instead? And so I think that it's always great for you all to challenge these things and for you all to think creatively of how you want your program to be. Now, mind you, that's how my program was set up, to give that opportunity, but not all programs are set up that way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one thing to consider too is just all the uncontrollables. I went to a program and really had one expectation and it wasn't that, right? Not for better or for worse, but it was just different. So a lot of the faculty who I had in my first year, who I enjoyed, who I connected with, who were part of my community, who I saw myself in, who, spoke to my, lived experiences and vice versa, they left, after my first year, for better opportunities and who knows, why else, right? In terms of like their own workplace, their own culture that they were managing and navigating at the institution that kind of forced them to leave or caused them to leave or just wanted to explore other options. So I did enjoy the professors that I did have while they were there. And, I finished the program and finished the second part of my program in a program that was going through a transition, a new dean of school of ed, a new program director, hiring new faculty, right? So, when I say that things are fluid and it's not linear, that's very much been my experience, and I don't feel negatively about it. But it was just the experience that I was meant to go through. So I think, manage your expectations in all situations, but, because no program is perfect, no faculty member is perfect. No, nothing is ever like just the way you want it to be. So I would hope that you would expect that from a doctoral program as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I want to say two things. One, Dr. Maravilla, feel free to chime in whenever, if you want to chime into the conversation, because I do appreciate your input as well. And so my next question is this, in terms of funding, right? And we know what's going on with, with the DC, all the garbage that's happening over there. And funding is at threat now. But how was your experience in exploring that, finding opportunities, right? Getting the financial support. How'd you navigate that, and how'd you find your resources?
So as I mentioned, I did get into the fellowship when I got into the program that I was in. So that helped me with like my books and any other like they had their own tuition reimbursement with that. But then also I strategically moved to work at the institution that I was also getting my doctorate in order for me to receive the tuition reimbursement from working there as well. And so that again, that comes with some like giving up, my dream job, which was at the time working with students from my community, which was in Little Village. And so I loved that job and it was so fulfilling for me. But unfortunately, I knew that I wanted to make this move so that it could help me and get to my end goal and so that it could help me financially pay for my school. And so that's how I was able to navigate paying for school was that I was able to get the fellowship money and the tuition reimbursement from my institution.
So incredible. Fire. I love that. Amazing. I kind of took a different route. I went to an institution that didn't, if you weren't a full-time student, you weren't going to be fully funded. So that was certainly not me. And even fully funded students weren't, or even full-time students weren't fully funded, I would say. So I kind of did, by any means necessary approach, and just took out the loans for the first 2 years. And I think it well, one, it just forces me to make sure I get the return on investment. That's first and foremost, over time, which will happen, right? So you have to have a belief and faith that, if you are going to take out loans, that you will be able to, try, at least try to pay it back, or be a responsible, loaner, if you will. So that's kind of where I was at. But I think, I'm a big believer in God, and just the first 2 years taking that approach led me to being able to get a graduate assistantship to third year. And I was able to have my third year paid for, and also have a great experience. And that just sort of fell in my lap. And I really feel like, hey, this is a sign, like, I'm going to finish strong. I didn't even anticipate that this was coming. I didn't expect it. And the opportunity presented itself, and I was able to take advantage of that funding. So the last year I was able to to get a stipend. Stipend, full transparency, was around above $2,000 a month. So it was definitely helped. It definitely helped me and my family. Helped me finish my program first. Most importantly, and especially at a time where I wasn't necessarily employed, here in New York, and trying to find employment here. So that was a big help to me. And I think I also got just minor scholarships here and there from the institution. So I got one $5,000 scholarship, one $1,000 scholarship. So those opportunities exist. it may seem like a drop in the bucket because, you know, it is, but it's there, and you might as well try to take advantage of it, because it's there for, you know, for you to utilize. So that's kind of been my experience. I would say there it's a patchwork effort of different organizations, different initiatives, different programs where you can find money to get your program funded as much as possible, if not fully funded, which would be obviously ideal.
That's hardcore, right? Because my experience, I was lucky because my advisor had a graduate assistantship for me, and when that wasn't enough, I was able to get the DFI, which is the Diversifying Faculty in Illinois, and I think they're threatened right now, or they're probably gone already. I don't even know, but you know, again, I didn't have to go through that. So, Dr. Salazar, much props to you, man. To you know, that adds to your studies, right? You know, trying to search for that. So that's love. The next question is, what would you tell if someone came to you and said, you know, I want to study, I want to get my doctoral degree? What are some tips in terms of strategies, what to look for, right? In terms of like what's the best fit and all of that, right? What are some tips you would give them to get started in looking for a doctoral degree program? That's a tough one, right?
I would say that anybody who is looking to go for a doctoral program, already have something in mind that you're interested in studying. You know, I think it's always helpful to have a great start so that as you're going through your program, whatever you can do to incorporate that at the end, so that you're not just building up on everything, so that you're building upon it until the end. So like my program, it built up to my dissertation. So any of the assignments that I was able to do research on my topic, or I already came into the program in mind knowing what my topic was going to be. I didn't know specifically how I was going to go about it or what methods I was going to use, but I just had in mind this is what I'm interested in. And so, with any assignment or any extra work that we would be able to do outside of the curriculum, where we would have freedom to do our own, I always tied it back to my topic, because then I was hitting like two birds with one stone, where I was like, okay, I know I'm reading this for this class, but I know I also want to keep this article or this information for my dissertation. And so that's how I kept going throughout my entire program. Now, if you can find a program that will help you build towards that, I think it helps, because then it's not like you're going through the coursework and then you get to the end of where you start your dissertation and you're like starting fresh from like day one with your dissertation, right? So thankfully, I think that my program, it helped in that way, because that way it helped me finish, honestly, so that I was able to build on it. What else? I also, again, helped that it didn't require a GRE, because I was not going to take it. So I needed a program that was not going to require it. So
Right,
that
right.
also helped. And I was very intentional about applying for an EDD. So a program that was, you know, an education, because I just feel like the route towards EDD is not really talked a lot about, or I don't know too many folks. It wasn't until I was in ENLACE that I met somebody who had an EDD, which was, you know, one of our professors. And so then I was like, oh, what's an EDD? And then that's when I knew about it. And I was like, oh, up to this point, I've only heard about a PhD. I never knew I could do an EDD too. And so for that reason, I wanted to be intentional about applying for an EDD program and pursuing my EDD.
Yeah, I would say just on that note, in terms of the, you know, if you're wanting to pursue a PhD, like you hopefully you like reading, hopefully you like writing, hopefully you like arguing or proving your point in a scholarly voice, because that's really what it is. And you learn to enjoy it and not enjoy it. in some ways. There's times where I didn't want to read articles and I didn't want to have these tough conversations about what the research gaps were, or have to be so analytical all the time, not just in my thought, but in my oral communication and in my written communication, more importantly, and then be open to critique every single time that you submit written communication or written, a written document. I mean, that happens in the EDD as well. So not to say that's a similarity, I think, across all doctoral programs, but I think for sure I spent a lot of time reading, different articles, a lot of writing down things, probably half of the things I didn't even use. And then the things that I was going to write that I thought I wanted to use, I had to reorganize that in a thoughtful way for others to understand and comprehend what I was trying to communicate. So that, again, is a learned skill. With me starting my doctoral program, not the same writer that I was 3.5 years later, and that goes for EDD as well. But I think about the differences in program with Dr. Castro and how I wish I would have done an internship, or I wish I would have had a practicum experience like I did in ENLACE, to help just build that experiential learning piece, that I enjoy. But a lot of that came through just reading and writing and having conversations with my faculty advisor about what their feedback was, and what their thought process was around what I was saying. So if you whether actually you enjoy that process or not, that's kind of what you can expect throughout your doctoral program. And if you're I guess the one thing I wanted to say too is I didn't get my PhD until 5 years after ENLACE. So you have time. There's no rush. PhD was there 5 years after I finished ENLACE. The PhD is still there after I finished it 3.5 years later. So there's really no rush. You just want to go at your own pace and start when it feels right to you, because that's the most important thing. Also, we should let Dr. Maravilla kind of.
Go ahead.
Right.
Well, I wanted to give it a proper introduction.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I agree with you. Dr. Maravilla, any insight you want to provide?
Well, what was your initial question in reference to my doctoral experience? I would say it's different in many ways. One, primarily because I was raising my daughter at the same time that I was going through a doctoral program. And so that really, I was multitasking, right? So there was a point where I was in 3 different assistantships just to try to get the 75% stipend every month. Along with like trying to hustle and work with different faculty members in my college in order to figure out, where it was that I fit, right? And where I wanted to nest my work in. My biggest advice in terms of when you're thinking about applying to a doctoral program is looking at the scholars that you're interested in working with, right? So both Dr. Castro and Dr. Salazar mentioned, pivotal people in their programs that they could confide in and that they were able to work with. And so I think that that's absolutely very key, is being able to align yourself with someone in the program that that, one, you can trust, but two, that your work and your research interests also align with theirs, because that's going to make the transition, but also going through the program a lot less stressful than, because I've heard horror stories as well where folks, are struggling to graduate and get the final signatures that they need. And, so that's something that I definitely, encourage you all to do. And my mentora, which is Doctora Citlali Morales at UIC, she's still my mentora. She's my jefa, right? So like anything that even 6 years after I graduated, anything that I need, any support, like she's always my first person to go to, right? So like any decisions that I make professionally, she's still my person.
I love that. Those relationships are important. I have a similar relationship with Dr. James D. Anderson. I think you know him, right? Yes. So I go to him, you know, every so often. Haven't been to him in a while, but yes, trust was a big word. That I totally agree because people will burn you, right? So they are cool. So this is gonna be the last question, and then once we're, you know, if you have any final thoughts, we could do that. But we're gonna get into the conversation because I want to hear Dr. Marivilla's work, right, with K-12 and all of that. But the last question is this. We're gonna bring it back to ENLACE. As you know, we are very intentional on bringing back alumni. I know Dr. Castro has been, you know, several times gone to our events. Dr. Salazar, I know you're in New York. I know you're here in spirit, right? But in terms of like what has that done for you as a student and an alumni, right? In terms of continuing this, building on this community that we have, because it really is a familia, right? You have no idea how honored I am when I see like different cohorts connecting and, oh, this is my mentor now. Like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? But that's the intention. But I want to hear from you, like what is the impact? What do you see in all of that, especially from your role?
I would say, Dr. Castro, you want to go first? No? Okay. I mean, ladies first. If you Okay, so anyway, I would say I just what comes to mind is like the term, the idea, the fact that we belong. You know, like we belong as a community. Like I had never been a part of a Latino cohort, seen Latino professors, had a curriculum focused, you know, on um, just having this lens that a lot of institutions don't have. I mean, I'm about to start a new job at a small liberal arts college in upstate New York with 2,000 students, right? And there's one of me. So, you know, I only say that to because as I kind of take on these new experiences, I know that I always have ENLACE to lean on and have these folks that I have shared lived experiences with, and who I don't and think differently than me, but can still have still have that community despite any differences of opinion that may or may not exist. So it's it really just drives the point home for me. Like we have a space. I never thought about ENLACE or like a program focused specifically on Latino administrators. Um, it's just so powerful. And I think I realized how powerful it is just over time, actually. And through all the experiences that I go through, it's like I keep getting reaffirmed about the experiences that I've had here and how it's prepared me, you know, even in my day-to-day interactions with other professionals who come from other backgrounds and have different beliefs than I do.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. I would say for me, so I always say this because it's just funny that when I was an undergrad, I didn't do any sororities or fraternities, but Enlace is such a sorority or fraternity to me because it just feels like every cohort is like a line crossing because that graduates because we literally are like a family in the sense that we're connected, you know, just based on the fact that we all did Enlace or that we were all involved with Enlace. And so for that, I am so grateful for the network that we've built and how we're able to tap in with one another. As far as like you're over there, okay, cool. Like let me hit you up about what you guys are doing over there. Let me tell you the issue that we're having over here. How did you go about going around that? How did you get those funds? And so it's just really nice to have people all over the place, all you know, different institutions, different type of institutions with their experiences, and they're able to share what they are doing, right? What changes they're implementing and how it's worked out for them. And so I also like to stay involved because I like the mentorship opportunities. of, seeing the new cohort of individuals as they're also getting their expertise in this field, and just networking with them, because again, we are here to help each other, right? We're here to make sure that everybody makes it. And so any way that I can help support them, I'm grateful for it and I'm able to. So
No, I appreciate that. And I must say, Dr. Castro, like when you come through, you let people know. Right. And I love that about you. But yeah, and we do that intentionally, right? So we can build these relationships and let people know, you belong here. We belong,
mhm.
right? So any last words before we shift over, transition into the other topic?
I guess I'll say this, that this is such a full circle moment, I think, for me and for Dr. Salazar, for both of us to be part of this panel now that we are both graduated with our doctors. So we were in the same cohort together when we were in ENLACE. And I would say for a little bit, we were kind of the underdogs, especially, coming from Pilsen, coming from La Villita, where folks maybe didn't think we would get to this point. And it's just so beautiful to see us now be in this space and giving out advice and wisdom to people who may want to also be on this journey of getting their doctorate. So thank you all so much for allowing me to share my experience with you all. Please feel free to connect. I'm always happy to have coffee and talk some more. So I wish you all the best. I always tell folks too, like, si yo puedo, tú puedes. Like, if I can do it, you can definitely do it. And it's not to knock down on me, but it's to say that, like, I too have not been the strongest student. I too do not enjoy writing. I don't enjoy reading, but I got it done. So if I can do it, you can do it.
Love it. Thank you. Anything from you? Oh, there you go.
I would just say, just trust yourself. Trust yourself throughout your decision-making process, whether you're going to go back and get a doctorate or you're not. What the decision is right either way. So just keep that in mind, and I think it's important to yeah, just trust yourself, because it's otherwise if you don't, you're just going to get continued feedback on your project forever and ever and ever and ever until you say, hey, I actually like my project the way it is. This is how I want to submit it. This is what I want it to be. I appreciate your feedback, but we're going to move forward with this. And I think that's really important. Otherwise, if you're trying to look for other answers from other people all the time, they sometimes have it and they sometimes don't. So that's very much a balance that you kind of go through when you're in a doctoral program. So just trust yourself, and good luck.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Salazar. So one comment about Dr. Castro. So I must say you had the best doctoral degree celebration I ever been to. Like for those of you who weren't there, we ate, she taught, she stepped out, and then she came back in with a tamborazo, bro. She was like, "Ta, ta." I was
Hey,
like, "What?"
hey, you hold on though, because I'm about to take it to the motherland. So I gotta go celebrate with my people over there. So that was just part one, okay?
Okay, all
Part
right.
two is coming in
I
August. You
love
guys
it.
are also invited to get it neat, okay?
Okay, all right. Don't be
But
surprised. I
yeah.
show up with 30 people. But I love
All
it.
right.
Thank you, Olga. So we're gonna transition right over. I want to introduce to my good friend, Dr. Joanna Maravilla, who I've known for a good while. I remember meeting her when she was an undergrad student at UIC. Have no idea, like, to see that transition, right? She is a powerful force. Like, I do appreciate her work in doing curriculum. She works. She's an assistant professor at Lewis University in the College of Education and Social Sciences. She's been there for a good while. I always forget how many years it is. Time flies, yo. And she's also the incoming president, correct me if I'm wrong, the incoming president for the Critical Race Studies and Education Association, which is nationwide. They just hosted their conference in Detroit maybe like 2 months ago. Roxanne was there. She was able to meet her. But someone who's invested, I know that personally, someone who works with so many, great people. And I'm glad because she's a busy person, right? So we know that. So I'm glad she came through. Was like, I can do this and share some insight. She was a member, or actually, I don't even know if it was by herself or a group, but she was part of an effort to bring in K-12 curriculum into Chicago Public Schools, and all of that. So she's going to talk about that. So let me shut up. Dr. Maravilla, thank you again for coming here, and the mic is yours.
Thank you. So Dr. Cortez reassured me multiple times that this was very informal, because I was like, do I need a presentation? Like, what do you need me to bring? And he's like, no, super informal. So thank you, Roxanne and Dr. Cortez, for inviting me to join you this evening. It's always exciting and it's always refreshing to be in comunidad with my people. Especially when we're thinking about the academic space and how, while yes, the numbers continue to grow of us folks of color, especially our, Latino individuals being in academia, the numbers, as we know, across the country continue to be very stagnant. And so it's always humbling to be home and be able to share space with folks such as us. So thank you. So I guess I mean, talk a little bit about my journey, I guess, to kind of get to where I'm at today. I started like any other high school student, right? Many high school students, where I went to 3 different high schools. I was told not to apply to college. I ended up starting college through a summer bridge program at UIC under Lattice. I'm sure everyone is familiar with Lattice. And so Lattice has always been near and dear to my heart as well, because it's through their efforts and the work that they've done that I'm here today, right? And so I did my undergrad in Latin American and Latino studies. And then I decided to move forward with my master's degree in educational policy studies. And then from there, I thought I was done, but then I wasn't, right? I decided that I wanted to pursue my doctoral degree, and I ended up applying to curriculum and instruction in the College of Education at UIC, because mentored by Dr. David Stovall to partner up with someone that he knew that I could trust. So that's when I had the opportunity to meet and work alongside with Dr. Citlali Morales. I don't know if any of you all are familiar with her work, or but she's also from the community as well. And so my journey started in the doctoral program, but in 2013. Ya estamos viejitos. I graduated undergrad in 2007. And then I started 2013, my doctoral degree, and then I finished officially, or defended, in August of 2019. So during pandemic, I was actually the first doctoral candidate of my mentora to defend on Zoom during that time. And so that was very, very interesting, because no one had ever done it before and we didn't know how it was going to work out. So much so that one of my committee members se le olvidó la hora porque estaba in Seattle. And so trying to connect and trying to get like everyone on Zoom at the same time was a little complicated for like a minute, and it freaked me out. I do also want to honor the fact that I'm a native from Pilsen. My parents graduated from Benito Juarez High School. I did grow up in the neighborhood. I moved around a lot though, because my mother was a single mother, and she had to do what she had to do, right? But I've been invested in Pilsen, and now I live in Little Village as well. So if you're still in Little Village, I'm right here on Central Park and Cermak. This is home, and it's been home for quite some time now. I'm a product of Chicago Public Schools, but I'm also a parent of Chicago Public Schools. So as I mentioned early on, I was raising my daughter. I had her when I was in undergraduate school. My sophomore year. And so we have grown up together in so many different ways, but she has actually grown up seeing me be at school, right? So she was 16 when I graduated with my doctoral degree. She went to Inglewood High School, not Inglewood High School. She went to high school in Inglewood, Lindblom High School. And that's really important as well, because there was a specific reason why I chose to put her in Lindblom High School, primarily because it was significant for her to cultivate her identity as a young Latina woman, but more importantly, also understand, right, the experiences of her African American Black youth, young people, right? That was really important for me, but also more important for her as well, as she was navigating being a Latina here in the city of Chicago. I say all of that because that has kind of gotten me to this point in which when I think about curriculum and I think about us as Latinos in Chicago public schools, there's still something missing, right? While we do have a significant amount of teachers, right, that are doing the hard work on a day-to-day basis to educate young people such as us, there's still something that's missing, and what's missing is to really incorporate the various ways in which our identities have evolved, how our experiences continue to evolve outside of the classroom space, and how they've been cultivated by our abuelitas, abuelitos, tías, tíos, and all of the in between, right? We don't talk about that a lot in K through 12. And so as I'm working with pre-service teachers and in-service teachers, I get in trouble all of the time because that's something that I push, right? Like, how are you going to become a critical educator knowing that you're basically impacting these young people's lives on a day-to-day basis? So this has been an ongoing, right, conversation that I've had, not only with the current work that I'm doing, but in previous work, and in addition to that, in conversation with folks in Chicago Public Schools as well. So I teamed up with some folks at DePaul University, Northwestern, so Dr. Mirna Garcia at Northwestern, and then if Dr. Gonzalez, Billy Gonzalez, and the Latino Research Center, and we had facilitated a workshop with some colegas in Minnesota and also Texas that actually run this virtual website where they archive digital artwork, Chicano artwork. And so we did like a whole workshop at DePaul one year where we were trying to encourage Latinx teachers to come out and create curriculum together. So that was one venture. And then we moved forward, and then we did another workshop with teachers, not only from CPS, but also teachers from across the state of Illinois, to also think about curriculum critically, but more specifically, how are they aligning our history, right, our testimonios, all of that. In that, myself and another my homegirl actually, because we went to college together, Yamali Rodriguez, she is actually an administrator now in Chicago Public Schools. She directs the social studies unit in CPS. We were over tacos and drinks. We were having a conversation about how it's fucked up that we don't have I'm sorry, I shouldn't have sworn, but she's gonna be like, you're throwing my name out and swearing at the same time, but it's okay. So how we have all of these policies, right? We have these mandates that within the state of Illinois, we have a mandate in K through 12 that requires all teachers, all school districts to engage Asian American studies. So we have the Teach Act, to engage with African American studies, Black studies, to talk about the histories of, to talk about Jewish studies, to talk about all of these other ethnicities. But there is no mandate in the state of Illinois that requires K through 12 teachers, school districts, administrators, principals, to incorporate the Latino experience, the Latinx experience in K through 12. So we began this journey in conversation, and I was like, how is it that the population continues to grow, right? We're at over 58%. Maybe I forgot the numbers right now off the top of my head, not only in the state of Illinois, but across the country. And we're still don't have a mandate, like something that is requiring, like make it make sense. So I reached out to Selena Villanueva, which is my state representative here in Little Village. And we engaged in this discussion. We invited her to the workshop with the teachers around Latinx. incorporating Latinx studies in the K through 12 curriculum. And from that, it initiated a conversation. So she has taken the lead in presenting this bill. So she wrote the bill out into, the legal language, right? We kind of helped with the narrative. She wrote out the legal language with her team, has presented it already in the Senate. And then, so now it's SB 2270. You can absolutely look it up. You'll see that now it's being endorsed by Selena Villanueva, and now we also have someone in a second person, Rachel Ventura, which is a state senator in the Will County area as well, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then we also recently have now received support from Aaron Ortiz that will be presenting this bill in the House as well. So it's been a year in the making. Poco a poco, it's gonna take some time. We have continued to build momentum. We're presenting at different conferences. We're engaging in critical discussions with folks all over the city, but also within the state of Illinois, to get this passed. And so we're hoping that will be presented and go up for a vote in October. And hopefully we will be able to, make this official and mandated within the K through 12 curriculum for academic year 2026, 2027. So that was a lot. But I wanted to just kind of share a little bit about my story, because it's always been about my identity and how, my identity has evolved, that I've continued to really use that as my lens to the ways in which my work is, continues to move forward. Yeah, so that's part of it. I don't know, another day we can talk about like how I decided to do, my dissertation and all those things. But for today, this is really important, and I hope that you all take the opportunity to kind of look it up if you'd like. I have a little QR code too if you all are interested in supporting or know any community-based organization in the community that is interested in also endorsing. We are really, really, really looking to get more folks. It was nice meeting you, Olga. I don't know if we didn't get to introduce each other. Are you in a doctoral program as well?
Part of the cohort 15.
Oh, okay. Very, very cool.
So halfway done with the master's in 2 weeks.
Yay,
But thank
felicidades.
you for being here.
Yeah, felicidades.
Thank you.
So, ¿qué más les quiero decir? So yes, check it out. If you know any community-based organizations that are interested, like we are always looking for different endorsements. Right now we have a good amount, but we need more, right? So you see, that's kind of what I've been doing right now. But I guess to backtrack a little bit, I started this journey in the community. I don't know if y'all are familiar, back in the day, the Anhelo Project. The Anhelo Project was a nonprofit organization that was co-founded by myself and other folks, many of them actually from the ENLACE program, right? So like Monica Meneses, Jocelyn Cisneros, Quinti. I think, was Quinti part of the ENLACE program at one point? Yeah.
Yep.
So like I worked with them many years ago. We started the Anhelo Project, and we actually ran for over 12 years, and we were able to raise scholarship funds for documented students back in the day. And we raised over $300,000. Unfortunately, because we all grew up, right? And we all had jobs and bills and all of the things, during pandemic, it kind of fizzled. And also I was also hustling to try to finish my dissertation. So it was there, it happened. We did so much work, but that also really led me to really think about like how I wanted to nest myself in education, and like what was the work, like my work was around like thinking about bilingual education. And so that's kind of what, bilingual education, the identities of Latinas, Latinos in K through 12, curriculum development, but then also more importantly, also thinking about those Latina educadoras in the community that we also don't acknowledge and don't recognize. So my dissertation is actually around a case looking at the testimonios of 3 Latina educadoras in the Little Village community and how they use their own identity to impact the ways in which they teach in the classroom Latinx students. So, yes.
Beautiful. Oh my God. Yeah, so a few things, and I did tell Dr. Maravilla that it's going to be informal, so feel free if you have any questions. I do know that Roxanne Garcia is interested in pursuing her doctoral studies in the future. But 2 things: when I first heard about this bill and your efforts, it automatically made me think about Dr. Angela Valenzuela's work on subtractive schooling, right?
Yes.
So I don't know if everybody's familiar with that book, but I read that in grad school, and it just impacted me. Like, I'm talking about her book. I got to meet her as well. So what it is talking about how, like, Mexican Americans in Houston, Texas, they were in the high school, how they didn't see themselves in the school, right?
Yeah.
The culture was all in the community, but once they entered the school, it was like walls that cut them off. So that's one. And then Yamali, who's outstanding. I remember she had shared with us that they did a survey, a 5 essential survey, and they found out that according to the social sciences, that Latino students are the group that least see themselves in the curriculum. So kudos to you. And I just want, like, I know you mentioned it, but you talked about Yamali being a part of it as well. Like how did you take that when you learned about that survey? How did you take Yamali's work, and when she learned, like, man, we're not learning about us, like right?
Same song, different day, right? Like, while we were surprised, we weren't surprised, right? Because that's the reality of where we're at, right? Like, as we continue to move forward, and our numbers continue to grow, we're still not part of many narratives, and that's just the reality of it. And so how do we take up space in the spaces that we're not, our voices are not being heard, right? And so this is one of them. And so at first it was a little nerve-wracking, because given that Yamali does work in an institution, as so do I, and Dr. Garcia does as well, and Billy does as well. Like, we're all part of these various institutions, and I was just like, you know what? Cool, like, I'll take the bullets. I don't care. Like, it is what it is, and I can, like, if you all don't feel comfortable, which they, for many different reasons, right? Because each institution functions differently, for whatever purposes. Like, I can take the lead. If I get in trouble, fine. I'm okay with it. Because what are they gonna do to me? Nada, I don't think. Or no sé. We'll see. But so yeah, so we were surprised, but not surprised, if that kind of answers your question. It was kind of like, wow, interesting. And I think and the other person actually that is also really pivotal in this as well is Jackie Rodriguez. And Jackie Rodriguez is actually a high school Latinx studies teacher, history teacher at Benito Juarez High School. She's also my homegirl, near and dear to my heart. And so this is like one of those projects that's more of a like, ooh, like, me and my girls we're all getting together and we're doing this work, and it's not labor intensive, because we're all doing it with love, right? And so everything that the paperwork that we have to fill out, like the conversations, we went down to Springfield for Latino Unity Day for the first time, and just like engaging in conversations and like being part of these spaces that we had never been a part of before, definitely has also been very, very fun, right? Also just reaching out to community organizations that I have been working with previously, right? So, like, for example, as you mentioned, Dr. Cortez, I'm at Lewis University. Lewis University is in Romeoville, which we know is next door neighbor to Joliet, right? Bolingbrook, Plainfield. We have large numbers of Latinx communities out there. And so the last couple of years, I have been partnering with 3 community-based organizations out there, one of which is a South Suburban Immigrant Project. They do a lot of advocacy work in the Will County area, specifically around the rights of the migrant community there. Warehouse Workers for Justice, they also are in the front lines, also doing a lot of critical work in defending the people's rights in, in the factories and in, those type of the industrial jobs. And then also Spanish Center is located in Joliet, and they also do a lot of resources for the migrant community, the Latinx community in the Joliet area. And so partnering up with them the last couple of years, and then now kind of also presenting this bill, having them be part of endorsing it also is big, right? Because we're basically getting the word out, but also with the understanding that it's not just a Chicago thing. This is like a statewide initiative, right? And we also have to take into account the growing number of Latino people that we have across the state of Illinois. We're also partnered up with another professor, Antonio Ramirez. He's at Elgin Community College. He's also in the political science history department. And so he also has been doing a lot of like advocacy work around trying to push this bill in his area as well. We recently got an intern from U of I that is helping us with, try to build our social media to get us out there. So we officially have an Instagram account. And so all these folks are kind of, with this labor of love. And then if you all have ever had the opportunity to meet Selena Villanueva, she's amazing, right? She's also from the community as well. And this is all, part of, her narrative as well, right? Like she went to Chicago Public Schools. She went to U of I, was also part of like La Casa, also majored in Latino studies out there. And so why is this something that, we're not pushing for? Or why haven't, not that we're not, but why haven't we pushed for it, right? Because it's so important to assure that our K-12 young people are able to share their testimonials, able to share their stories, their histories, their families' experiences of migration, experiences of what it means to be in Chicago, what it means to be in the US, right? So how do we push that? There was something else I was gonna say. Who else was I thinking of? That's all I can think of right now. Se me fue la onda for a second. So yeah, so that's where we're at.
No, that's dope, Dr. Maravilla. I have questions, Isabel, right? And when you defend it, I had like 20 questions. Everybody was like, shut up, Gabriel, like let them vote. Anyway, but I say that because if y'all have any questions, please, feel free.
Yeah.
But the one thing I want to share in terms of the impact of that. So cohort 13, we had a student named Victor Munoz, and we were preparing for an event, and he was like, hey, Dr. Cortez, he goes, can I bring my band and perform? And I was like, because we were asking for assets, like what do you have to contribute? And I was like, what kind of band? He's like, a banda. I was like, fuck yeah. So we're the first ones to bring it, and every time I see him, I'm like, bro, I go, you're in history as bringing in the first banda to Northeastern.
Nice.
A Hispanic serving institution. But the impact, the semester afterwards, I was talking to this undergrad leader, and he was putting together an event. And I was like, hey, why don't you bring in like a banda, and he looked at me and he said, like, with this look like, we can do that? And in that moment, I was like, wow, because it's two different worlds. And we think we can't bring them together. And I was like, yes, we can do that. Right? And the look in, you froze, Dr. Maravilla, but the look in his face was just like, what? It was just like a foreign concept. Right? And that's what we're trying to break from. Right? In terms of like, no, we belong, our people belong here, our music belongs here. So that's the impact, right? That this effort is bringing to so many kids. I love it.
Yeah. And also holding teachers accountable as well, right? Like I'm not talking about the teachers that we know are amazing and are the critical educators in the K through 12 classroom. Like I'm talking about the teachers that are teaching to teach, but are not thinking about this, right? And are just teaching the standards or just teaching the script, right? We have to hold them accountable as well. And we have to hold administrators, school districts, principals also accountable. And this is one of the ways, to be able to start doing that. as well. I know that when we were also, Roxanne and I were engaging in conversation in Cresea, we were also talking about like how this is also significant in, post K through 12, right? Unless you are in, unless you choose to take Latino studies, a Latin American and Latino studies in college, you also don't get exposed to this, right? And so what would it look like to mandate or require higher education institutions to also, right, to push for the teaching of Latinos in the US, for example, right? I'm not sure how many of you all are familiar with the Latino Studies Association. So the Latino Studies Association is an amazing organization, and that also was like co-founded by some amazing scholars like Dr. Frances Aparicio, which also was she's another mentora of mine, that basically has been pushing for this for such an initiative, right, to think critically. So while we have more institutions that are becoming HSIs, we don't have the same amount of institutions that are pushing to, require the teaching of Latino history or política o qué sé yo, right? Like a class that is a requirement. While we know that the numbers again across the country are continuing to increase, people need to know, how do they work with us? How do they communicate with our people? And this is really important. And so I know that at last year's conference, because it's a biannual conference, was it last year's conference in 2024, there was actually a profesora from California that was talking about, that actually is doing this work, basically looking at the numbers of institutions across the country that do offer or do have a Latino studies program within their institutions. And so that work is out there. And I did mention to Rex, and I don't remember, but definitely look it up, look up the profesora, because I know that the work is out there and that there's folks that are working towards, pushing to have more Latino studies programs. So what I was the point that I'm correcting myself. The point that they were trying to make is that there are more institutions that identify as HSIs than institutions that actually have a Latino studies program within them. And so absolutely something that we need to, also, engage in critical discussion about. Roxanne, did you have a question?
Yes, well, I wanted to add on to that, like the fact that we were bonding over this, because I loved it so much that somebody had, somebody knew about this and was like, yeah, go for it. Let's, this is the organization. So thank you, Dr. Maravilla, for that. It's the fact that HSIs, while they might have a major in Latinx studies or Latin American studies, but what about graduate programs? What about a doctoral program for folks? If we claim to be an HSI or an MSI, right, or both, how are you serving your students? How are you serving the community that also want to get in on it if they want to pursue an additional degree, right? That's what I'm trying to get at, and I would love to work with the who was it? The individual from California that you mentioned. I can get her name. I want to contact her.
Yeah, definitely, because she did present a report during one of the plenaries at the conference that basically was showing the disparities across the country within institutions of higher education. Yeah, so I think one of the things that I wanted to mention in terms of, and this is how being part of an organization such as Critical Race Studies and Education Association, that is also important in the K through 12 curriculum, is that one of the goals that we have in building the curriculum, because we're going to be building a curriculum, we're going to be getting teachers to come out and like support us in building the curriculum, because we can't just say we need a curriculum or we need to mandate something without actually having an end product to be able to share, right? Is also including what are these like movements, right? Like what are these coalition building movements that are important and significant to our identity, but then also to in support of our black and brown communities or other communities or the Asian community. So how have we like evolved and have worked in solidarity or side by side? Because we also need to teach that to young people as well, right? So when we're thinking about like what are the tensions in the community? Like, what does that look like? What does that mean? Like, we also need to engage in critical discussion. Like, what is the history behind that, so that we can get to a space of, this continued solidarity that has been there for a significant amount of time. So that's something that we've also been thinking about as well, is like, how do we develop a curriculum that not only represents our identities or, our experiences, and I want to say that it's not just, it's also about within all content areas, right? So when we think about how do we represent Latinos in English language arts, that's important. How do we represent them in the sciences? But in addition to that, math, social studies, etc. But also, including like our histories with other communities is super, super important.
I love that. I love that. I do this workshop where I talk about movements in Latino America, which I get into the African aspect, right? The indigenous aspect, but also the mixture, the mestizaje. But one of the things that I've done is I presented to the Surge Institute. I don't know if you're familiar, the Surge Leadership Institute, and they're predominantly Black, right? And I went in and I was like, how many of you have ever heard of the Southern Underground Railroad to Mexico? Nobody, right? And and I don't blame them, because our history is not taught, right? So I know that. And these are leaders, these are principals, these are leaders of organizations, and they were just like looking at each other. They were like, "What's this guy talking about?" And I was like, "Well, look." Boom, I busted out the map. I was like, look, did you know that over 6,000 formerly enslaved folks, escaped to Mexico? And so they didn't know that. And to me, like, our history really does connect and reinforces that solidarity, right? Because we ourselves don't know it, and how do we expect other folks to know it? Right. So that's just an example of, like, once we dig in more to our history, like, you're gonna see those connections. But also, I don't want to sugarcoat it, but you're also going to see the divisions as well, right? The patriarchy and the Catholicism and all of that. So, but yes, very powerful.
Yeah, and remembering that it's part of the institution and the narrative that the institution perpetuates on us to keep us, right? To keep our communities separate.
Thank you. So that being said, it's 7:58. I know everybody's tired. I can see in all of your faces. And thank you. I just want to say thank you. Any final comments, Dr. Maravilla, before we head out?
No, just suerte, felicidades and suerte. And, whenever you all need anything, Dr. Cortez and Roxanne have my contact information. Like, I'm always, absolutely humbly, want to be supportive as any way that I can. So
we're honored to have you. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Salazar. Thank you, Dr. Maravilla. Thank you, Dr. Castro. And hopefully sometime soon, Dr. Garcia, after she finishes she's going to graduate. She's going to graduate in 2 weeks.
Yeah, congratulations.
Well, cool. Just to remind people, I did record this session. I'm going to make it available on YouTube. And hopefully, like we want to get more audience people to come and look and learn, and hopefully donate. So thank you all for your time and energy. Much love always, and we'll see each other soon.
All right, bye.
And there's
Thank you.
All right.